The latest politics of the situation in London with our correspondent at our political unit, Paul Rowley, a little bit later on. It is now 7:09. A lack of school places for children, something we often talk about on this programme. Across Berkshire, around 2,000 additional primary school places are going to be needed in the next 3 years. In West Berkshire, hundreds of places are needed, but the council's told us it is struggling to build more schools. That's because it doesn't own enough land, and it ends up in complicated negotiations over where the schools should be built. Councillor Lynn Doherty is the council's lead member for children, young people and education.
Depending which party you're negotiating with, they will have different priorities. So as far as we're concerned, we have a statutory duty to provide places. We have a responsibility to our taxpayers to do that at a cost-effective manner. Whereas a third party may have a different agenda, so they may wish to make the most out of the asset that they have available. We're always dependent on another person or another party to enable us to proceed. Now, whenever you're building a new school, there's always a time frame involved. And obviously, if you've got legal negotiations regarding land, regarding how that's going to work, that slows the process down further.
Now, one example is the location of a site of a proposed new school in Theale. A row over that has been rumbling on for more than 5 years. A deadline for a decision is looming. West Berkshire wants an answer from Theale Parish Council over whether they will give up land for a new school by the end of the month. Well, Chris Browning has been in Theale working out where things currently stand.
If this argument were a child, it would have been born, learned to talk, learned to walk, gone to school, learned to read, learned to write, and it'd be looking forward to moving up to big school, because it's been going on for 5 years. West Berkshire Council and Theale Parish Council are a bit like two children fighting over a toy who just can't play nicely with each other. The toy in question belongs to the parish council. It's this field, which at the moment looks very brown. The only living things interested in it at this time are some crows over there pecking away at some litter. West Berkshire Council wants to build a school here. They say Theale's getting bigger, more people are moving to the village and they need the extra school places. The people who live in the village at the moment agree. They voted in favour of building a school in a recent parish referendum. But the parish won't give up its lease to the land. It says it doesn't want to lose the playing fields. So despite the results of that referendum, the parish is now having a 2-week consultation on the idea, and then it says it will finally, after 5 years, make up its mind. It's not just here that things are getting in the way of more school places being created. Plans for a new primary school in Newbury have stalled because the landowner there is refusing to give up the land. And in Reading, the Heights School has been fighting to move to a new, bigger, permanent home with room for 350 pupils since it opened 6 years ago.
So how much is the need for the new school? Vanessa Payne and Carenza Ogbe are local parents who voted in favour of a new school in Theale, and they're both with us. Vanessa, good morning.
Morning.
Carenza, good morning.
Good morning, Martin.
Tell us why you think the new school's needed.
Well, personally, my children have been at that school my son is now going into year 6, so he's been there for nearly sort of going into his 7th year. It's got less space than an inner city school. They can't play around. They've got very limited green space. It's hard surfaces, and it's just getting to sort of pinch point at the moment. I mean, his new classroom next year will be their ICT suite. They're removing all the computers just so that they can have a classroom.
And Vanessa, this poll was taken back in March, right? So the lack of movement must be frustrating.
Oh, incredibly frustrating. Nobody in the village knows what's happening 2 weeks before the deadline. Theale Parish Council have failed to communicate with us. They cancelled the last parish council meeting on the 9th of July, which was the last opportunity for them to have a discussion about it. The school wasn't even on the agenda. Nobody knows what's going on, and now all of a sudden there's this last 2-week notice. But what I and other interested residents want to know is how on earth are they going to process all that information they've collected the day before the deadline when it's taken them this long
to get round to, what they're currently doing. It's just not going to happen before the deadline.
Carenza, why do you know villagers that object, that don't want the school to expand?
Yes, I do. I know.
And what's their
people.
argument?
The arguments tend to be around loss of green space, and they feel that Englefield Road is not safe. I've looked into all of this very, very deeply. I've looked into road traffic surveys. I've looked into all of the traffic concessions that WBC are going to give, the safety features that are going to be added. And we're actually going to benefit as a village. We're going to get additional green space as replacement land. We're not even losing the whole field. We're only going to be losing a third of the field. We're also getting new pavements, new wig-wag lines. There's lots of things that we're going to get as a village. We're going to get an extended lease on the remaining two-thirds of the field, which is not guaranteed at the moment. So, and as a village, Theale already has an overabundance of green space compared to the local average. So I don't see how these arguments actually hold up. Also, many no voters, there's other people who voted no who may not feel quite so strongly but just voted no in the poll because they were led to believe that there is another option. The no campaign based their campaign around this, that don't worry, if we say no to this, we can put the school somewhere else, or we can lobby West Berkshire to do this, that and the other. West Berkshire have published documents and they've told me face-to-face representatives that there is no other option. It's North Street Plainfield or it's not in Theale. And that will destroy the community of the village, I feel.
Let me ask you about that backstop. What happens if the school doesn't expand, if this is not built, this facility? What happens to the kids? Vanessa?
Well, they'll just continue. A lot of the local school children won't actually be able to go to the local school, so they'll have to go to Englefield or Calcott, and there's question marks over whether those schools have got the capacity to take the children, and the children that are in the school will just be in a substandard school, basically. That's just not fit for purpose currently. And the teachers are already starting to leave. I think this year we've had 6 teachers leave, and so the school would just lose its outstanding status, and the school would just die, really.
Okay, Vanessa and Carenza, thank you both very much indeed. We will continue to report on this story as the programme goes on this morning. And the usual way to get in touch with us, well, you're very welcome to call us if you have a particular view on this, 0808 100 5100. Or you can text me, of course, use the number 81333 and preface.